The Spiritual Essence of Man and Material Form of Human Beings, Part 9 on the theme of contemporary human confusion by Oriental philosophers. What is a man? This question, I am afraid, is that everyone will ask themselves, but it is, the whole of mankind puzzled for thousands of years. But in any case, to think about this problem is one of the most important philosophical undertakings of human beings and one of the most important ideological undertakings of human beings. Today, we will further explore this issue from the perspective of the duality of human structure. I once said that human beings are a structure of duality. Simply speaking, what is the structure of duality? That is to say, man is a dualistic structure composed of soul and body. The first level of man is soul and spirit, the other pole of man is a body and life instinct. So I once said that man is the existence of the soul, which is supported by the life instinct. Man is a mirror of wisdom embedded in the framework of a finite entity. Man is the infinite spiritual artistic conception in the limited material form. Since man is a dualistic structure, then as a person, we must make clear a question: why in the history of civilization for thousands of years, many saints and wise men have confirmed that the essence of man should lie in the soul and spirit? Why? Since it is a dualistic structure, why can't the life instinct be regarded as the essence of human beings? In other words, why should we recognize that any cultural phenomenon that regards the life instinct as the essence of human beings is the ideological process and cultural process leading to human degeneration? Why do you say that? Why must we confirm that spirit is the essence of human beings, or that the essence of human beings lies in the existence of the mind? So I think there are at least several reasons. First of all, because the basis of human beings as the soul of all things lies in a human spirit, in the human mind, and the instinct of life is the commonness of human beings and insects, ants, and trees. In the sense of life instinct, there is no difference between human beings and insects, ants, vegetation. It is because of the spirit, because of the soul, and become the soul of all things, as the subject of knowledge of human beings, and there is a basic division between the object world composed of all things, is that human beings are a kind of spiritual existence. Human beings are a kind of spiritual existence. People are confused about the matter. Therefore, in an ancient Chinese saying, there is a very vivid saying that the death of a person is materialized, and if you materialize, it means that you, as a being, have disappeared and disappeared. It is precise because of this that Plato said that human beings are animals in pursuit of meaning. Previously, we have discussed the problem of inequality of human philosophy and personality. We have said that the distinction of philosophical personality between heroes and cowards, between saints and shameless people, between teachers with bright hearts and bright personalities and vulgar things, is the limit engraved on the sun, which cannot be eliminated unless the sun is extinguished and the fate of human beings is annihilated. So, this leads to a question: since everyone is in a dualistic structure, why can some people, philosophical personalities, be so noble, so magnificent? So why are some people's philosophical personality, even most people's philosophical personality, in a physical state of existence, or even some atrophy, or sinister like snakes and mice? Why do such philosophical personality differences arise? One of the reasons, then, seems to me, is that every personality dominated by mind or spirit is a noble, beautiful personality, and every personality dominated by life instinct is necessarily a physical existence, an ugly evil one. What, then, is the reason for this? We have also said that the physical greed generated by the life instinct is the source of all evil in the world. What is the ideal it pursues? The idea pursued by material greed, or the ideal pursued by life instinct, is the individual existence, and the pursuit of life instinct is the continuous expansion and strengthening of the space-time scope of individual existence. So, in the vital instinct, there are two things, two factors. One is physical greed, which takes physical existence as truth. Once again, the existence of physical nature is the truth of the life instinct, and the other factor of the life instinct is above the individual self-interest. Because for the life instinct, the ideal he can understand is the continuous expansion and strengthening of the time and space scope occupied by individual life. Therefore, in life instinct, it produces two factors. One is uncontrolled physical greed, because physical greed is his truth, and the other is the ideology of absolute selfishness of individual supremacy. Because the life instinct is to pursue the expansion and strengthening of the individual survival time and space as his ideal. Obviously, then, the primacy of physical instinct and individual self-interest is the root of all evil in human life. All the evils in the world are produced by the synthesis of these two pursuits, that is, the instinct of life. Therefore, we say that life is dominated by the life instinct, the dominant person. He must be a physical existence, must be a source of earthly evil, the source of degeneration. The other existence, then, is the existence dominated by the mind, and the existence dominated by the mind must have a noble personality. Why do you say that? We say that Mr. Kant once said truth and a kind of emotion. He said that there were only two phenomena in the world that shocked his soul. One was the depth of the starry summer night sky, the other was the moral principles emerging from our human hearts. Then Mr. Kant did not say where the moral principles of human beings come from, and he did not explain the root of moral principles. Then, in my opinion, moral principles are the apocalypse from the soul, and the reason why people have beautiful and noble personalities is that they have moral principles, and moral principles come from the apocalypse from the soul. The reason why the whole human life, in the general sense of life philosophy, is constantly taking an upward sublimation road lies in the restriction of moral principles on human life instinct, without the restriction of moral principles. If people only rely on the guidance of life instinct, the whole society will be reduced to an extremely depraved, more depraved state than animals. Because the beast will not be hypocritical, animals show the life instinct, at least it is true, and humans will be hypocritical, so he will be more depraved than the beast. Thanks to the temptation of morality, people can become a noble existence, or have a possibility of becoming a noble existence. And morality is the revelation from the mind, so we conclude that any life dominated by the mind must be noble, he must have a noble and beautiful personality. Then, there will be another problem, at least so far in the development of human beings, only a few heroes, saints, teachers, and wise men can truly reflect the essence of human beings as spiritual existence. And why are most people still in a physical state of existence? Although their life instinct has not fully demonstrated their malignancy because of the moral restraint, they are in the existence of a life instinct shadow after all. So what's the reason? I think there's a deeper philosophical reason for this. Aristotle once said that he had such a judgment, a philosophical judgment, about form and content, that form is vivid, form is active, form is timeliness, lively and full of vitality. The content is rigid and passive. He also cited an example. He said, for example, a hard stone, if he is in a state of hard stone, it does not have any artistic appeal, but when the artist, after turning this playing stone into a statue, immediately sublimated into a work of art. Here its content, that is, its content as a stone has not changed, but its form has changed, so it has been sublimated from a hard stone to a work of art. Of course, Aristotle's metaphor, in my opinion, violates the basic law of thinking logic. Because he changed the frame of reference, because as a work of art, its content is not a hard stone, but the artist's understanding of the artistic charm, that is the content of the work of art. So, his example here seems to me to be inappropriate. But Aristotle, as a great philosopher, put forward the proposition that form is superior to content, but this proposition now seems to be functioning in a considerable majority of human beings, that is, a considerable majority of human beings, who are dominated by the life instinct. They are all willing to listen to the call of instinctive physical greed and the supremacy of personal selfishness. Therefore, their existence cannot show or express the essence of the human soul. This is why most people, up to now, are in a physical state of existence. Only a few heroes, saints, teachers, and wise men can truly express the essence of human life. In a simple word, freedom is difficult, noble personality is difficult. Why difficult? That is because of another philosophical reason. From a pessimistic point of view, or from a sad point of view, the human mind itself is 100 years of autumn land imprisoned in a limited life instinct, a limited material form. The mind wants to break away from the iron prison of this life instinct and become a free man. It is a difficult process. From 100 years of prisoners to a free man, of course, it is difficult. Because of this difficulty, only those who can get the life existence of apocalypse, heroes, saints, wise men, and poets can become free people embodying the essence of the human mind from prisoners of life instinct. The contemporary era is an era in which people's minds are rotten in physical greed. In such an era, if you don't want your life to eventually dissimulate into a dirty nothingness, eventually dissimulate into a dirty material. If you still want your life to be blessed by a noble personality, then you have only one way, that is, to return to the soul, to pay attention to the soul, and understand the soul as your most important pursuit of life.